Of the Town of Hilton Head Island Housing Action Committee for May 14th, 2025, and we are called to order. The first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Sandy West moves. Katie Varon, second. All those in favor of approval of the agenda as written, say aye. Those opposed? It passes unanimously. Next is approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of our last full meeting, February 26th. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes as drafted.
Stuart Bell moves. Is there a second? Katie again. Thanks for the double seconds, Katie. Those in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye. Those opposed, nay. It passes unanimously. Unfinished business. Quincy has a report.
Good morning, everyone. I want to keep my program updates rather short. So work group meetings. So town staff convened with the Housing Action Committee work groups, as you know, to discuss several ongoing projects to include the Bryant Road RFQ, the Money Creek Neighborhood Stabilization Plan, the Housing Displacement Mitigation Support Plan, as well as a communications plan. The draft of both the RFQ and the Money Creek Neighborhood Stabilization Plan are both under review. Multiple work group meetings and discussions with the community response team's lead partners were held to align the plan, meaning the Housing Displacement Plan, with the recommendations from the Community Service and Public Safety Committee. Also, progress continues on site planning and building design elements for the Habitat project on Spanish Wells. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Quincy. We are moving along. The next item is work group updates, and a lot of this is just parroting what Quincy just said. Between meetings, we've had 4 work group sessions to review the displacement plan revisions, which we'll be taking up for consideration today. Comments on the request for qualifications at the Bryant Road property, the 7 acres that the town has acquired. The neighborhood stabilization plan for Muddy Creek, which is quite lengthy and impressive at this point. And those are to be taken up at future meetings. And then updates on the Habitat property, which is now 6 homes planned on the Spanish Wells property. So that work continues. Let's move to Ms. Stewart, the Home Safety and Repair Program, please, for your report. Welcome.
Good morning, all. Sharonica Stewart for the record. Since February, the last time I provided you all with an update for the Home Safety and Repair Program, I want you all to know that we have completed 18 projects since that time, with roughly 8 still under contract. This program team remains focused on completing the remaining contracts, as well as actively researching funding opportunities to ensure the program's sustainability. While this is not mandatory, we have asked that all contractors pretty much complete all of their projects by June the 30th to ensure timely completion and reduce the number of carry-on projects into the upcoming fiscal year. To give you all a little bit more information regarding the program from its inception, to date, we have completed 103 projects. That's pretty big. As mentioned previously, 8 projects still remain under contract, and right now, within this program's budget, we have roughly $80,000. There have been discussions with partners such as SC Housing Trust Fund, as well as Buford Jasper Housing Trust. However, we are currently evaluating all available options to determine the best feasible and necessary course for our community. Any questions?
Questions for Ms. Stewart? Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is consideration of the Housing Displacement Support Plan. Quincy, please.
All right, good morning again. So at the Community Service and Public Safety Committee meeting that was held on March 17th, there was a motion made to refer the Home Matters Hilton Head Island Displacement Mitigation Support Plan back to the Housing Action Committee for further discussion and clarification of where the plan should reside. So working with our work groups as well as our lead partners, we've made some revisions to the housing displacement plan, and I will outline some of those revisions as following. The town's role has been clarified. The state upon receiving information about a displacement event, the town will notify the lead partner, who would then coordinate and lead the targeted response. The voluntary displacement questionnaire has been renamed and refined into a template survey for community partners to use. The plan now includes a clearly defined 7-step response and coordination structure to guide response efforts. The role of the lead partner has been clarified to include activating and coordinating the community response team, and the plan no longer features town sales logos, reflecting a more collaborative, community partner-led initiative. So if you look through your packets and you look at the housing displacement plan, towards the second to last page, you'll see the step-by-step structure that we've included in the plan. That's also an improvement from the original document. All in all, we worked to clarify the town's role and clarify the role of the lead partner. Are there any questions?
Quincy, I do, oh, go ahead.
I was going to make the statement, it's like, why are we even doing this? Because the town is basically absolving itself of any responsibility. So I don't understand why it's even being brought up in this committee again, because it was clearly thought of the town should have no involvement. And we basically gutted the intent, and it's fine as a community thing, and, Sandy's organization running it, but again, it's window dressing. The town isn't doing anything in this regard. I guess that's my 2 cents.
Well, the one question I had, Quincy, is the statement that you made that the removal of the town symbols and so forth is to show greater collaboration within the community? Or is it to show, and you may not be able to answer this, that the town really does want to distance itself from anything related to housing? So I think interpret that. And it was very clear in the Community Services and Public Safety Committee that that was to be taken off.
Right. From my perspective, this is meant to be a community-led response and a more collaborative plan. And hence, we want to ensure that it was clearly illustrated as such. So removing the town symbols and seals and logos and such will clearly define, will clearly illustrate that. But that's probably the best response I could give. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Again, I'll just come back to the same thing. The town's claiming no role in this, so why is it even before this committee?
Let's see, my issue is, we recommended a plan to the council. It never got to them. It got stymied by a community service committee, who I researched it. I don't see how they have any authority to tell us to redraft the plan. And if that's true, it never got to the council. It got to a couple council members, but it never got to the council. So if the community services had no authority to tell us to revise the plan, my recommendation is that we just send it back to the council the way we had it. Full council, full mayor and council. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I don't legally see how that committee can tell us we have to revise our plan before it gets to the full council. My comments.
Other questions and comments?
I would just like to say, with my home agency doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this, I do feel like this plan puts us in a better place than we were when the Chimney Cove debacle happened a few years ago. We have built a coalition. We've talked about it, and it is definitely on the radar, not only of the citizens of this town, but I think developers who are wanting to develop new property or redevelop existing. At least it is in the ether. It's out there, and they understand if people are going to be affected, there needs to be a plan. So in that regard, I feel like the displacement plan that is before us right now is a big step forward than where we were a couple of years ago. And I do want to make sure that we acknowledge progress where there is progress. That said, when I look at the logistics of when the next big displacement comes, we are still, at the bottom line, very ill-prepared for if we have the big one. We had a great exercise, if you will, with the Diamond Cove displacement earlier this year, much smaller scale because the developer was honoring leases. It was a rollout situation, so we didn't have tons of people displaced all at the same time. We utilized some of the game plan in this framework, and it served us well. We have rehomed all but like 3 or 4 people who are still there because their lease is still going. But that said, you know, our agency shouldered, I mean, to date, the bills are over $15,000 to help people, you know, get into new housing, which we tapped our coffers to make that happen. The fact that we now have a fund to help with that is awesome, but I think there's not even enough money in the fund right now to help us offset some of our costs. So we've got a funding issue, and I think the other issue that is still in play is if we have a major displacement, I don't have any place that we at Deep Well can put people. So the conversations that need to be happening with people who do have access to housing, I'm going to be making those phone calls and sending those emails and having those conversations, but I can't share with you, having a partner like the town to help me in that process would be huge, because sometimes it takes the gorilla in the room to get people to the table. And I'm not sure one nonprofit or even a great coalition of nonprofits is going to have the oomph to get the right people around the table for that. So while I'm excited that we've made progress, and I think some of it is very important progress, there's still a couple of areas where if we have a major displacement tomorrow, we are still going to be struggling. And when I say we, I'm not talking about just the community response team. I'm talking about our whole community. There will be ramifications. So my caution is, while we've made good progress, we are nowhere near done. And I feel like we are going to need more resources around the table from whether it's the town or other partners that we can put together, because at the end of the day, we don't have any place to put people short-term. And that is really the hallmark of a true displacement plan. So those are just my comments I'd like to share today. Again, I do not want to underestimate the progress that has been made, because it is significant. But to get the ball across the finish line, we're going to need more resources than what's currently in this plan.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to reiterate that. I think I've said from day one. Town supports the Heritage Golf Club. It supports all these various things that are done with other money, but it still supports those things. It can't find funds to support a displacement thing in a multi-million-dollar budget that we've just put forth. Is
I do not disagree with anything that's been said. I want to be clear that I think that everybody has made great points thus far, and I think we should lean heavily into what Sandy said because of her role and Deep Well's role in the entire project. But what, to Dennis's point, what is the next step? Why are we looking at this? Is it going to go back in front of the committee and then council, or why even would? It seems to me that the only thing that the town has to do with this plan is the voluntary questionnaire for developers. So what is the next step? I guess I'm just sort of confused.
and also the motion at the back reiterates the history, saying this was rejected, gone back for things. Why is that even in a town pronouncement? You know, it's basically the town distancing themselves from the whole thing.
So what is Missy Lewick, Director of Planning for the record, the recommendation before you today is to review this revised plan and make a recommendation to town council. It is anticipated that this plan would go to town council if it moves out of Housing Action Committee. And to speak to, the structure of the displacement plan, even the prior version and what's before you today, the town's role and the role of the Housing Action Committee is the reason why we have a plan before us. It's why, as Sandy mentioned, we're better prepared as a community. We have that community support structure that's there to assist when we are faced with displacement events. And without our housing framework, without the Housing Action Committee, and prioritizing this as a project that was put before you, the town acted in that role to bring this document to where it is today. And so that is still, the town's effort that is contributing to the plan that's before you. And we created a lot of collaborative effort in the development of the community response team, the structure, when we did scenario planning and testing to evaluate the plan's effectiveness. All of that work was done collaboratively, both with the Housing Action Committee's work group, but also with those community partners. The community-led aspect of the plan itself was always part of the structure. The town was more of the convener of getting all of these resources assembled in a cohesive manner, in a way that an individual facing displacement doesn't have to know that structure, know all the agencies that they may have to contact, but that this structure that has been created and was even in the previous iteration of the plan, it still remains what this structure of the plan produces. It assembles a team and a structure to provide resources in a collaborative endeavor for that individual or individuals facing displacement. And so, yes, as Sandy indicated, we as a community are better equipped as a community than we were. And we know that there's more work to do as well. There's more work to do in, workforce housing as a program within the town. And we know that there are extreme challenges with finding that availability of units. As a region, it's a challenge, and we're working with additional partners going forward to try to solve some of those hurdles as well. But the town's role still is to be to notify the lead agency when there's a displacement, and that was still the role in the prior version, and to enact that community response team in a displacement.
Other comments from the Housing Action Committee?
Are we able to turn down this recommendation and recommend the council take up the one we sent before?
If that were so moved, yes.
Asking that question, I want to make sure we go down that route that we could.
Let me just say, first of all, the heroes here are the agencies. Sandy with Deep Wells and Dale Douthit with United Way and Scott Weirman and the Community Foundation of the Low Country. That is a strong team, and we've seen evidence already of them doing strong work, regardless of the town's involvement or not. And obviously in this version, it's more not. This document has become more timid with time. But having said all that, I'm ready to vote for it and pass it along back to town council because it does put the town's imprint on something. We've been talking about it for 2 years. I don't think it's going to get any better. And I'm ready to vote for it. I don't pretend to influence any of your votes on this, but I think it's time to vote for it, continue to move on, and then do the best we can to keep the town as involved as they need to be. But the heavy lifting is being done by Deep Well, the Community Foundation, and the United Way of the Low Country.
Why wouldn't it go back to the committee, then to council again?
It does not. It goes to council.
I know, but why? If that was the route that it went the first time, why wouldn't it go that same route again? I'm confused procedurally, and I don't have a ton of experience in this jurisdiction, but in other jurisdictions, I've city council levels. I'm not trying to make it anything difficult. I just am curious as to why this would go straight to council versus going back to the
I'm not
committee.
sure why it went to the committee in the first place, so.
Right, and Katie, I think it's a really fair point,
I
in
just
that
was-
I don't think any of us expected that this was going to go to community services. We thought this was, I'll just speak for myself, I thought this was going to town council, what we voted on and what we worked on collectively. So that was a surprise, but I think it's a fair point, and I think we have someone here can give us an answer to that.
Good morning, Sean Leininger, Assistant Town Manager. So as far as, let's go back to the original plan and the reason that went, your recommendation was to Town Council. Town Council has a committee process whereby they review, at the discretion of the mayor and working with the chairs of the committees, things are referred to the committee for action. In this case, your recommendation would again be to town council, to whichever plan, whatever you decide to make a motion for town council to do. It'll then be, the mayor will then work with the chairs and decide whether that goes to the full council or whether that goes to a committee. So don't concern, I know you want to know clarity on the process.
Case-by-case basis
but
is what you're saying.
not necessarily on a case-by-case basis, but that generally there is a committee process that is involved. The committee's made a decision on this. We'll work with the council on what their direction is on how to move this forward. I would just ask that you make a recommendation to council. We'll figure out the process as it moves forward from there.
It could still go back to committee.
Until I have a chance to, possibly, but I'm not going to make a decision for council. I can't speak for
Yeah,
them.
I just,
So,
yeah.
We have our town manager here, and not to put you on the spot, but I mean, I don't think this should be like, we're just gonna figure it out on the fly. There must be a process, and I think that's what Katie's trying to get at. What is the process? Does this go back to committee since it was rejected by committee and asked to be redone?
the
Or
mayor
does this
has-
go now to town
So
council?
the mayor has some authority over what is placed before different agendas. And so that's, I can't speak for him. I'm not going to speak for the town manager, and he's not going to speak for the mayor either. But that's the process that we have in place. Your recommendation, again, is going to be to town council. We'll figure out the process moving forward as we work with the mayor on your recommendation. And we'll provide that clarity to you as soon as we can, but typically there is a committee process, but the committee has weighed in on this already.
Got it, okay.
What would happen if you did not get a positive vote here to refer the amended plan to the town council? What happens to the original plan at that point? Because the council's never really rejected the original plan.
That would be a conversation I need to have with our town attorney. I don't know that there's anything that would necessarily require it to be advanced. I don't know there's anything that would say that it couldn't be advanced. There might be
That's a big issue because we have a plan that we approved. Now we're asked to approve another plan. But the first plan was never really rejected by town council. It was rejected by another committee. So I'm a little confused myself, to say the least.
And that's where I would encourage the committee to stay focused on the plan and the contents of the plan and what your recommendation is to town council. It's our job, our duty to then work with the mayor and town council to determine what that process is. So I put your efforts into the plan, we'll put our efforts into the process. Okay.
Thank you, Sean. The intent is for this to go back to town council. And I have heard the mayor opine that in his discretion, that is the way this will go. That's not definitive, that's not the final answer, but that's what I have heard.
I would echo just this, Jack, because I met with the mayor and he did say, I know things can change, but he did say that whatever, if anything, is to be referred, it will go to town council. So I personally heard that from him.
I still don't understand why
Mine
it
was
didn't
more of just a
happen originally.
procedural question. I always understood it that when something is proposed to town council, it goes to a committee. The committee can either reject or approve, and then it proceeds to council. In all of my past experience in other jurisdictions in the state, that's how everything has always gone. I've never actually had anything be sent back and then be sent to council. That was why I'm a little bit confused. My background is more in land, so it's more with planning commissions specifically. That might be why I'm confused, so that's all.
I think the first order of business here is a motion for this plan, and we'll see where that goes. As I say, I plan to vote in favor of this. You can all vote your conscience on it. Is there a motion to approve this plan and send back to town council?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sarah? Okay. So Hannah, that was a motion by Sandy Gillis, a second by Sarah Jones Anderson. Any further discussion? Are we ready to vote? Those in favor of approving this plan and sending it along to town council, say aye. Let's do it by hand as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those opposed? 2. So it is approved by a vote of 6 to 2. Thank you for well, first of all, thanks for 2 years of very frustrating work on this. I think that, as I and others have said, I think the biggest thing is that has come out of it is that 3 great service agencies in the town are on the case for any displacement that happens. Is there any new business? Hearing none. By the way, I should have asked for comments on the displacement plan before we voted, or on any other issue. Are there other comments that need to be made to those issues or to any issue coming before this committee? Ms. Henderson.
I think the real question here is, Sandy, what can the community do? That's if, this is a community project, we all need to know what we need to be doing. So I think if that could get out somehow, communication, that'd be great.
The comments? And I think since I didn't ask for public comment before we voted, let's reaffirm that vote if we could. Those in favor of the displacement plan being approved by us and sent forward to town council, raise your hand, please. 6. Those opposed? 2. Okay, the motion carries by a vote of 6 to 2. Any other new business? I have something I want to say at the end of the meeting here, and then any others on the committee that wish to talk can have their opportunity as well. I've written down my comments here because I've chosen these words carefully. After this meeting concludes today, I'll be resigning as chair and as a member of the Town of Hilton Head Island Housing Action Committee. It has become eminently clear, I think to all of us, that town government has not placed the committee in a position to effectively contribute to critically needed housing initiatives in support of the community's workforce. Housing Action Committee members were recruited 2 years ago based on their wide experience and ability to creatively increase the town's capabilities and initiatives in workforce housing. However, the actual function relegated to Housing Action Committee has been routine affirmation of reports from town staff. Housing for our workforce is directly connected to the future quality of life for all of us on Hilton Head Island. Our quality of life requires a workforce that is available, capable, and sustainable. This is without doubt the most pressing priority facing our community now and in the coming decades. And there's also no doubt that our workforce crisis is created and perpetuated by lack of housing and transportation for workers. Despite that, town actions on important housing matters are painfully slow and repeatedly delayed. And Housing Action Committee is without the means to expedite them. 3 prime examples are the displacement plan, 2 years and counting. The communications plan, 2 years and counting. The request for qualifications for the Brant Road tract, 2 years since that property was purchased. Each of these 3 essential parts of the plan has lingered for 2 full years without resolution. Good intentions and good reports are important, and we have had plenty of both. Good intentions and good reports. But it is the actual outcomes that matter. And the only true measure of our outcomes is the number of workers who decide to keep their jobs here because they can live here or easily commute to the island. Yes, there have been a few small wins, and we are grateful for that. But they pale in comparison to the immense size of the problem we're facing. Meanwhile, politically motivated misinformation continues to abound, and the workforce crisis is worsening rather than improving. And that's 6 years after the town first committed to workforce housing as a critical priority in their strategic plan. 6 years. The necessary solutions require political courage, action on multiple fronts, bold, intelligent plans, meaningful budget allocations, and urgent decisions. Many community partners are willing to play their appropriate roles, but I hope that town government can find the will to move forward at an aggressive pace in playing its pivotal role here. I am truly saddened that I and the Housing Action Committee have not been able to crack the code to meaningfully assist town government in this endeavor. I want to thank all the Housing Action Committee members for their hard work and support during my term here. I won't try to influence you regarding your decisions as continuing members of Housing Action Committee. I'm also very thankful to Missy and to Quincy as they transition to their next endeavors. And to Nick Dave, we wish you all the best going forward. And I say to the town leaders, here's your opportunity for a full reset. What will you do with it to better ensure the vibrant future of our community? Future generations on Hilton Head will judge your leadership based on your efforts to solve the workforce crisis. Those are my comments. Thank you. Are there other comments from anyone on the dais? Sandy.
So thank you, Jack. I have spent a great deal of time evaluating, seeking some counsel, and frankly in prayer over what I am going to share. And I am resigning as the vice chair and member of the Town of Hilton Head Islands Housing Action Committee immediately. I did not arrive at this decision lightly or easily. And some of what I'm going to do is read from a letter that I drafted to send to the mayor and the town manager and town council. But upon reflection of that initial decision, I decided I needed to attend this meeting. I needed to support to the best I can the work that we have done. And I wanted the chance to thank all of you for serving on the committee. So that, as we all know, in 2003, this team was formed and I was eager to accept the appointment to join the talent that's around this table. The Housing Advisory Committee was renamed to the Housing Action Committee, which to me signified that there was real emphasis for urgency. Unfortunately, meaningful action has failed to materialize. The Housing Action Committee has been charged with reviewing reports instead of leveraging its members' experience and expertise to generate real solutions. Some town council members clearly do not consider housing a priority, slowing the progress on key initiatives like the displacement plan, the communications plan, and the Bryant Road tract RFQ, which have been mentioned. On March 17th, the Community Services and Public Safety Committee meeting was a complete embarrassment. Town staff, Jack and I, endured a browbeating, and the town attorney was summarily dismissed. An unacceptable show of leadership. Disagreements can be expressed without resorting to abuse and intimidation. After that meeting, I met with Mr. Orlando on April 16th, and May 7th, I met with Mayor Perry to share my deep concerns and frustrations. Perhaps forming the HAC was a mistake from the start. Clearly, some members of town council do not consider this a key issue or key priority, despite the negative impact on our community's quality of life. Forming a HAC without real commitment wastes everyone's time, and it damages the town's reputation and credibility. While apparently the town has abandoned workforce housing as its top priority, I have not lost my commitment to this issue. I will continue to focus on housing outside of HAC because this is the one issue that unresolved will have a disastrous impact on our community. My decision is not intended to influence members of this committee. I deeply appreciate the time and talents all of you have volunteered and provided. I also greatly appreciate and want to thank Missy and Quincy and Nick Day for all of their efforts, and I'm saddened by the environment in which sometimes you have to work. In closing, I offer a suggestion. I suggest the town council push pause and evaluate its commitment to making progress, real progress, on housing challenges that we face, and town council's commitment to this committee. In my humble opinion, town council has a lot of soul searching to do. So thank you to all of you. I mean, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you. I know everybody's hearts are in the right place and we want to make progress. I just feel that I can spend my time elsewhere and hopefully have a greater impact.
Thank you, Sandy. Are there other comments from Housing Action Committee members?
Question, Jack, what happens with the leadership of this committee now that you've both resigned? Who is involved in filling those positions?
Filling the positions is done by the town council. How to get there from here, that'll be up to them. Missy and others, is that accurate?
Correct. The appointments would be made by town council to this committee, but through the rules of procedure for the Housing Action Committee, the chair and vice chair can be selected by the rest of the body at the next meeting.
Other comments from the committee? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Do we have any public comments? Anybody?
Wait, I thought we did the public comment section. Are there other public comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
To adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor of adjournment? Aye. Thank you all.